My beloved one, pause for a moment and feel this. This message did not find you by accident. It arrived because something ancient, powerful, and deeply personal is being corrected right now. There is a weight in your chest you could never explain, a sense that something meant for you slipped away quietly, without noise, without confrontation. Tonight, that silence breaks. Listen closely. Not with fear, with clarity. There has always been a destiny attached to your name that goes far beyond money, far beyond numbers, far beyond anything the world could measure. The wealth was never just currency. It was authority, influence, access, a future that unlocks other futures. And that destiny was watched, even when you were unaware. You trusted someone close, someone who shared your blood, your history, your private moments. You never imagined that the shift you felt in your life came from a hidden adjustment made while you were focused on surviving, healing, and staying kind. But the truth is gentle and sharp at the same time. What was meant to flow to you was redirected in silence. This is not a story of blame. This is a story of exposure. What was altered was not only external. It was energetic, structural, invisible to the eye yet powerful enough to slow doors, delay connections, and confuse timing. You noticed it as missed chances, strange resistance, opportunities that almost worked. Almost. But hear this carefully. Nothing was lost forever. What is assigned by heaven does not disappear. It waits. Right now, a higher authority is speaking on your behalf. Not with anger, but with command. Not with chaos, but with precision. Every hidden change has been seen. Every quiet switch has been recorded. Every moment you questioned yourself has been answered. This is why your spirit feels alert at this very second. Something is being returned, not as it was, but amplified. Restored with wisdom. Reconnected with protection. The delay was not punishment. It was preparation. Do not rush. Do not scroll. The next moments matter more than you realize, because the way you receive this truth determines how quickly the correction completes itself. Stay here. This is only the beginning of what is being revealed to you. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear explains everything that never made sense before. The silence. The delays. The moments when success felt close enough to touch, yet slipped away without explanation. This was not coincidence. It was not your mistake. It was not your lack of effort. There was a system connected to your destiny long before you were aware of it. A system of flow, timing, and authorization. When it was aligned, life moved smoothly. When it was altered, confusion appeared. Doors slowed. Signals crossed. And you felt it as exhaustion without reason and effort without reward. This alteration did not happen loudly. It happened quietly, privately, with access that only someone extremely close could have. Someone who knew your rhythms, your plans, your trust. Someone who never expected the truth to surface because they believed invisibility meant safety. But invisibility does not exist where truth is recorded. What shocks most people is not that interference happened, but how precise it was. Nothing was destroyed. Nothing was broken. Things were simply redirected. Numbers reassigned. Authority paused. Channels rerouted. That is why your life never collapsed. It only slowed. And that detail matters. Because what can be rerouted can also be returned. At this very moment, a correction is unfolding. Not emotional. Not dramatic. Exact. Surgical. What was adjusted behind your back is being adjusted back in your favor. Quietly. Cleanly. Completely. The same way it was changed is the same way it is being restored. You may feel it already as a strange calm mixed with alertness. A sense that something is aligning even though nothing around you has visibly changed yet. That is how true restoration begins. First inside. Then around you. then in front of you. Do not doubt this moment. You are not watching this by chance. You are here because awareness is the final key. Once you see, nothing can be hidden again. Remain present. What is unfolding next explains how the return happens, and why it will exceed what you originally lost. Listen carefully now, because this is where memory awakens and truth becomes undeniable. There was a moment in your past when your path quietly shifted. You felt it as confusion, as sudden pressure, as a strange feeling that you were walking, yet not moving forward at the speed you were meant to. You blamed timing. You blamed luck. Sometimes, you even blamed yourself. But the reality is far deeper, and far more precise. Something was changed while you were not watching. Not loudly, not dramatically. It was subtle, calculated, and hidden behind familiarity. The systems that were meant to recognize you began recognizing someone else. The access codes of favor, alignment, and flow were adjusted in silence. And the most shocking part is this: it was done by someone who knew exactly what they were touching. You wondered why people who once listened stopped responding. You wondered why agreements stalled at the final moment. You wondered why money came close, then vanished. Those were not coincidences. Those were symptoms. Yet hear this clearly and let it settle in your spirit. Nothing powerful can be stolen permanently. What is assigned by divine authority can be delayed, but never destroyed. And now, the delay has expired. Right now, the record is being reopened. Every change made without permission is being reversed with precision. Every door that was redirected is being re-aligned. What was once flowing around you is beginning to flow back through you. Slowly at first, then unmistakably. This is why you are being asked to stay present. Not because of fear, but because awareness accelerates restoration. When you remain here, you align with the correction. When you listen without distraction, the return becomes faster, cleaner, and stronger. Your destiny was never small. It was always designed to create impact, security, and generational influence. That is why interference was even attempted. But interference has an expiration date, and you have reached it. Do not move away. The next revelation will explain how the return unfolds, step by step, in ways that cannot be blocked again. Stay with this moment. Something irreversible is aligning right now. What was altered behind closed doors could never stay hidden forever, because destiny is not a fragile thing. It is a living current. It corrects itself when the time is right. The reason you are still listening is because the correction has already begun. You may have wondered why certain systems refused to open for you, why approvals felt delayed, why access seemed close yet unreachable. It was not rejection. It was containment. What was meant to carry your name could not move freely while someone else stood in the wrong position. That position is shifting now. There is a higher recalibration taking place, precise and silent. Not dramatic. Not chaotic. Just exact. What was switched is being switched back. What was rerouted is returning to its rightful flow. And what was blocked is dissolving without resistance. This is the part most people never hear. The restoration does not come as noise. It comes as calm authority. A knowing settles into your spirit. You begin to feel steady where you once felt uncertain. You start seeing clarity where confusion lived. That is the sign that control is returning to you. Do not doubt the slowness of this moment. Slowness is not weakness. It is accuracy. What was taken was large because what you are meant to handle is larger. Influence requires maturity. Wealth requires wisdom. Access requires restraint. That is why you were protected even while delayed. Everything that watched you struggle also watched you grow. Now the scale is tipping back. Quietly, firmly, permanently. You are not stepping into someone else's place. You are reclaiming your own. And when it fully settles, nothing will be able to move it again, because this time it is sealed with awareness. Hold your focus. Keep your heart steady. The return does not announce itself loudly, but you will recognize it instantly, because for the first time in a long while, everything will finally feel aligned. This is not the end of the message. This is the moment before confirmation. Stay with me right here, because this is the moment where confusion turns into certainty. Everything you have felt until now begins to make sense. The silence, the delays, the sudden pauses in your progress, the strange feeling that something valuable was always just out of reach. None of it was random. None of it was imagination. It was the effect of a change made without your consent, behind closed doors, while you were still trusting, still loving, still believing everyone around you wanted your rise. This is the revelation few are prepared to hear. The destiny connected to you was not small. It was not ordinary. It was designed to impact systems, institutions, and generations. That is why interference happened quietly, not loudly. Powerful destinies are never attacked in obvious ways. They are slowed, redirected, and hidden through subtle adjustments that look harmless on the surface. You were meant to doubt yourself, not others. And for a time, it worked. But hear this clearly now. The authority watching over your life does not miss details. Every coded change, every silent decision, every moment something was moved out of your path has already been reviewed. What you thought was lost was actually being tracked. What you believed was taken was being preserved for the right moment of return. And this is that moment. Notice how your attention is fully here. That is not coincidence. Something within you recognizes truth when it arrives. This is not about revenge. This is about restoration with elevation. What comes back to you does not return at the same level it left. It returns stronger, clearer, protected, and impossible to touch again. The delay has refined your character, sharpened your discernment, and prepared you to hold what once could have overwhelmed you. This is why you are being asked to stay present, to not rush ahead, to not dismiss what you feel right now. The correction process has already begun, and it responds to awareness. Every word you hear now aligns pieces that were scattered. Every second you remain here accelerates what is reconnecting to your name. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were being preserved for a return that changes everything. Do not move yet. What unfolds next reveals how the restoration completes itself, and why this time, nothing and no one can interfere again. Stay with me right now, because what is unfolding is not random, and it is not late. This is the moment where confusion turns into clarity, where the silence finally explains itself. You were never weak. You were patient. And patience was mistaken by someone close as permission. There was a private shift that happened when your attention was elsewhere. Not loud, not dramatic, not obvious. A quiet redirection. A subtle change in access. Something symbolic yet powerful, like moving a key from one place to another and assuming the door would never be checked again. But what was overlooked is this: nothing that carries your name can be permanently reassigned. This is the revelation that shocks even calm hearts. The destiny attached to you responds only to your presence. Others can touch the surface, but they cannot own the source. The reason things never fully worked for the one who interfered is because the design rejected the mismatch. That delay you felt was not denial. It was protection activating. Right now, there is a reversal happening that does not require confrontation, arguments, or exposure. It is happening through alignment, through truth surfacing naturally, through doors reopening without announcement. You will notice it as sudden access, unexpected clarity, and conversations that shift in your favor without force. Listen carefully. The restoration does not come back small. It returns with memory, with awareness, with safeguards, What once moved without you now pauses until you arrive. What once bypassed you now waits. That is authority reclaiming its rightful path. Do not underestimate this phase. This is where confidence quietly returns, where you stop doubting your intuition, where your voice feels steady again. You are not chasing what belongs to you anymore. It is recalibrating toward you. Remain present. What comes next confirms everything you are feeling right now. Stay right here. This is the moment everything quietly turns in your favor. There is something happening now that does not need noise to be powerful. It does not need shouting. It does not need proof from the world. It only needs your attention, because what was once hidden is no longer being protected by silence. You were never weak for trusting. You were chosen because your heart stayed clean while others learned how to move in shadows. The truth is this: what was taken from you could only be held temporarily. It was never owned. It was borrowed without permission, carried with fear, guarded with constant worry. That is why it could not multiply in the wrong hands. The delay you lived through was the evidence. When something does not grow, when it does not expand, when it brings tension instead of peace, it shows that it was never aligned. You felt this long before words explained it. You felt it when things slowed without reason, when your progress felt blocked even though you were ready, when your spirit knew you deserved more, yet timing kept shifting. Now listen carefully. The correction does not arrive like chaos. It arrives like calm certainty. It arrives as clarity in your mind, stability in your steps, and an inner confidence that cannot be shaken again. This is not about confrontation. This is about restoration with authority. What was rewritten behind your back is being rewritten again, openly, cleanly, and permanently. Not in secrecy, not in confusion, but in alignment with what was always marked for you. That is why this moment feels different. It does not feel dramatic. It feels final. Your destiny was never fragile. It was protected even when it looked delayed. It was preserved even when it appeared distant. And now, the doors that once felt locked will open in ways that surprise you, not because they appear suddenly, but because they open naturally, as if they were waiting for this exact alignment. Take this in slowly. You are not chasing anything anymore. Nothing needs to be forced. What belongs to you is responding to your presence again. Opportunities will recognize you. People will listen differently. Decisions will become easier. You will notice a quiet authority returning to your voice, your thoughts, your direction. This is not the end of the message. This is the confirmation. Stay with this energy. Stay with this knowing. The story is not repeating itself anymore. It is closing, cleanly, and giving way to a future that finally moves forward without resistance. Remain here. What comes next completes everything you have waited for. Listen carefully, because this is the moment most people miss, and missing it changes everything. There was a quiet window in your life when things should have accelerated. You remember it. The ideas were clear, the doors looked close enough to touch, the future felt almost decided. And then, without explanation, momentum slowed. Not stopped. Slowed. As if someone gently placed a hand on the clock and turned it back a fraction. That was not confusion. That was interference. What you never saw was how small the change was, and how powerful its effect became. A code adjusted. A sequence reordered. A decision redirected at the root, not the surface. That is why nothing looked dramatic. That is why you blamed timing, luck, or yourself. The most effective shifts never announce themselves. But here is the revelation that changes the story. The system that was altered could never hold what truly belongs to you. It could only delay it. Because your destiny is not dependent on one pathway. It creates new ones when blocked. And now, those new pathways are activating all at once. This is why things are starting to feel different again. Not loud, clear, You may notice people reaching out unexpectedly, information resurfacing, opportunities repeating themselves in a stronger form. This is not coincidence. It is recalibration. What was hidden is being overridden. Not emotionally, but structurally. Quiet authority is stepping in where noise once failed. And understand this, nothing is being taken from anyone else to give to you. What returns to you was always yours. It simply recognizes your alignment again. This is the part where you stay present, not reactive, not rushed, present. Because the correction does not respond to desperation. It responds to awareness. The moment you see clearly, the process accelerates. The moment you stop doubting your worth, the doors stop hesitating. You were never meant to fight for this destiny. You were meant to receive it with steadiness. There is also something else being restored that matters even more than wealth. Your confidence in your own perception. For too long, you sensed something was off but dismissed it. You told yourself to be patient, to be kind, to be understanding. Those qualities protected you, but now they must be paired with clarity. Clarity is what completes the return. Do not confront. Do not announce. Do not explain. What is happening does not need your voice to be loud. It needs your focus to be calm. You are stepping into a phase where outcomes change without arguments, where results speak before explanations are required, where what belongs to you moves toward you naturally, as if it finally remembers where it was always supposed to go. Stay with this message. There is more unfolding, and the next part reveals how the final alignment locks into place, permanently. Listen very carefully now, because this part separates those who only hear stories from those who recognize truth when it speaks directly to them. What you are feeling at this exact moment is not imagination. It is recognition. Something deep inside you knows that the missing years, the delayed rewards, the unexplained resistance were never random. There was a moment in your past when the flow should have accelerated. Instead, it slowed. Doors that were designed to open easily required effort. People who once supported you suddenly hesitated. Systems that should have favored you became confusing. You blamed timing. You blamed yourself. You stayed quiet. But the cause was hidden elsewhere. A code was changed without your consent. Not just a number. Not just access. A sequence tied to your name, your authority, your inheritance in life. The world calls it luck. Heaven calls it alignment. And when alignment is adjusted behind your back, the results echo everywhere. This is why the message is firm now. Not emotional. Not dramatic. Firm. A higher order has intervened because what was touched was too large, too significant to remain distorted. The destiny attached to you does not shrink because someone interfered. It waits for correction. And correction has a sound. You are hearing it right now. Notice how your mind is quiet. Notice how your attention is locked in. That is not accident. That is resonance. The truth is this. What was redirected could only move for a season. It could never stay where it did not belong. Every benefit taken without permission carries an expiration. Every shortcut taken with hidden intent eventually reverses itself. And when it does, it returns multiplied, stabilized, and protected. You are not being asked to confront anyone. You are not being asked to accuse. You are being asked to remain present. Because the restoration process responds to awareness. The moment you see clearly, the system begins to reset. Stay here. This message is still unfolding, and what comes next connects directly to how the return completes itself. Stay right here. This is the moment where confusion turns into clarity, and silence turns into authority. What was hidden from you was never stronger than what was written for you. The changes made behind closed doors did not erase your destiny. They only revealed who was never meant to walk with you into it. You were not delayed because you were weak. You were delayed because timing was being rearranged in your favor. Right now, something powerful is happening that does not need noise to be real. Systems that were quietly altered are being quietly corrected. Paths that were rerouted are being aligned again. What was accessed without permission is being locked out, not by human hands, but by a higher order that cannot be bypassed. This is why your intuition has been speaking louder lately. This is why names have surfaced in your thoughts without effort. This is why your spirit feels both calm and alert at the same time. You are not here to confront. You are here to receive. What was taken was never just wealth. It was momentum. It was legacy. It was the ability to move freely into rooms others only dream about. And now, that momentum is returning with understanding attached to it. You will move differently. You will choose differently. You will trust yourself more deeply than ever before. Let this sink in. The restoration does not come as a dramatic announcement. It comes as sudden ease, as doors that open without struggle, as confirmation that arrives without chasing, as peace that feels earned. You are stepping into a chapter where nothing needs to be forced, where alignment replaces effort, where what belongs to you recognizes you instantly. Do not rush this moment. Do not minimize what you feel right now. This message is not ending. It is anchoring itself inside you, so what comes next can finally stay. Beloved one, something subtle is happening right now, and if you blink emotionally, you might miss how powerful this moment truly is. There is a reason your attention keeps returning here, a reason your heart feels unusually still yet alert at the same time. This is the moment when confusion begins to lose its grip, and clarity starts speaking in a calm, undeniable voice. What was hidden is no longer hidden. Not because someone confessed, not because evidence was placed in your hands, but because truth has a way of rising when the time is exact. For a long while, you were made to believe that delays were your fault, that progress required more effort, more patience, more silence. Yet the reality is far more precise than that. Certain paths were quietly redirected while you were choosing peace over conflict. You were not weak for trusting. You were aligned. And alignment is never wasted. Behind closed systems and unseen decisions, changes were made that did not belong to you, yet they affected you deeply. Not just finances, not just opportunities, but momentum itself. You felt it as a strange pause, a sense of almost there, a cycle repeating without explanation. That was not coincidence. That was interference without consent. But hear this now, and let it settle gently into your spirit. Interference has an expiration date. What is happening now is not dramatic on the surface, yet it is absolute in effect. The codes that were altered are being corrected. The permissions that were shifted are being restored. The flow that was slowed is being released with precision, not force. This is why things will begin to make sense without effort. Conversations will change tone. Doors will open without struggle. People will respond differently, without knowing why. You do not need to confront. You do not need to prove. You only need to remain present. Because restoration does not announce itself loudly. It moves quietly, efficiently, and permanently. What returns to you now comes back with protection, awareness, and timing that cannot be disrupted again. This is not about reclaiming the past. This is about stepping into what was always meant to arrive at this exact chapter of your life. Stay with this moment. Let it imprint itself into your memory. What is unfolding next will feel natural, yet unmistakable. And when it begins, you will know, without doubt, that this pause was not the end of your story, but the moment everything realigned in your favor. Beloved soul, breathe slowly and stay with this moment, because what is unfolding now explains everything you could never put into words. The confusion, the delays, the feeling that your life was meant for something far greater than what you were experiencing. None of it was imagination. It was evidence. There was a quiet rerouting that happened when you least expected it. Not through noise, not through conflict, but through access. Through familiarity. Through someone who knew your patterns, your silence, your patience, and mistook your kindness for permission. What was touched was not just opportunity, but timing itself. That is why things felt close yet unreachable, promising yet unfinished. But hear this clearly now. The truth does not arrive to accuse. It arrives to restore. A higher command has already overridden what was secretly adjusted. The codes that once responded incorrectly are being rewritten with precision. Doors that opened halfway are being recalibrated to open fully. The favor attached to your name is no longer delayed, and the authority meant to follow you is returning in a way that cannot be intercepted again. This is why your awareness feels sharper today. This is why memories are resurfacing. This is why you feel both calm and alert at the same time. You are not being rushed. You are being positioned. Every tear you held back became evidence. Every moment you chose dignity over reaction strengthened the outcome. What was meant to weaken you only trained you to carry more. And now, the restoration is not quiet. It is exact. It is visible. It is undeniable. Do not look backward with pain. Look forward with certainty. What was hidden has been uncovered. What was delayed has been released. What was redirected is now returning with increase. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay open. The correction is already in motion, and what comes next carries your name clearly, boldly, and permanently. Listen carefully now, because this moment is different. This is where everything quietly turns in your favor, without noise, without struggle, without you needing to prove anything to anyone. What you are feeling right now is recognition. Your spirit remembers what your mind was never told. There was a sequence placed on your life long ago, a sequence that determines timing, access, favor, and arrival. When that sequence was interfered with, your life did not collapse, it paused. And a pause is not an ending. A pause is protection. What shocks most people is this truth. Destiny does not disappear when it is interfered with. It becomes guarded, watched, preserved until the right correction arrives. That correction is happening now. Not emotionally, structurally. Behind the scenes, the order has already shifted. What once blocked you is losing authority. What once redirected your outcomes no longer holds permission. You may not see it yet, but the flow has already changed. This is why familiar obstacles are suddenly quiet. This is why certain people feel distant without explanation. This is why your intuition feels unusually calm. This is not coincidence. This is alignment returning. What was altered in secret is being reversed in clarity. Every delayed answer, every stalled breakthrough, every almost success is being reassembled into something cleaner, stronger, and permanent. The return is not rushed because it must be undeniable. Do not underestimate what is forming right now. This restoration does not arrive as chaos. It arrives as certainty. You will recognize it not by excitement, but by peace. Doors will open without effort. Decisions will feel obvious. Resistance will dissolve without argument. Stay present. The message is still unfolding, and what comes next connects directly to what you have been waiting for, longer than you ever admitted. Do not move. You are exactly where you need to be. Stay with this moment. Something irreversible is happening right now, and it does not need noise to be powerful. The shift you feel is not imagination. It is recognition. A hidden truth is finally aligning with your awareness, and once awareness arrives, nothing can return to secrecy. There was a time when your life slowed without reason. Not dramatically, not loudly, just enough to confuse you. Doors delayed. Responses changed. Promises softened. You blamed timing. You blamed yourself. But timing was never broken. The path was diverted. What was taken from you was not luck. It was access. There are codes in this world that decide who enters rooms before the door even opens. Some codes are written. Some are spoken. Some are transferred quietly, behind smiles, behind family conversations, behind trust. You were never meant to fight for your destiny. You were meant to arrive to it already recognized. This is the part people remember, because this is where the truth becomes undeniable. The moment someone close altered what was connected to your name, the universe paused, not to punish you, but to prevent a greater imbalance. What should have overwhelmed you arrived later on purpose. You were being protected from receiving power before clarity. Now clarity has arrived. The restoration is not dramatic. It is precise. What was shifted is being shifted back. What was rerouted is being traced. What was renamed is being returned to its original authority, your authority. Not emotionally, structurally. Pay attention to how calm this feels. That calm is confirmation. You are not being asked to confront anyone. You are not being asked to explain yourself. This correction does not require your voice, because it responds to truth, not argument. What was done quietly is being undone quietly, but completely. This is why things will begin to move again without effort. People will call. Decisions will soften. Systems will recognize you without knowing why. This is not coincidence. It is alignment resuming its original design. Do not leave this moment, because what follows next is the final seal, the part that ensures nothing like this can ever happen again. Stay here. Beloved soul, slow down right here. There is a reason your attention is locked in at this exact moment. Something is aligning quietly, powerfully, without noise, and it concerns the truth you were never told. You have lived with a feeling that your life was meant to be larger, smoother, more influential than it turned out to be. That feeling was not imagination. It was memory. What was taken from you was never obvious. It did not arrive as theft. It arrived as normal, as delay, as confusion, as you working harder while others moved faster, as you giving more while receiving less. And the most shocking part is this: the change happened while you were being kind, trusting, and focused on peace. This is the moment of clarity. A higher authority has now stepped forward and spoken your name with intention, not to accuse, but to correct, not to punish, but to restore. What was redirected behind your back created an imbalance that heaven itself refused to ignore. You were never weak. You were temporarily diverted. There are records that do not exist on paper. There are codes that are not typed, but spoken, decided, authorized. And those codes were adjusted without your consent. The impact followed you silently: missed timings, closed doors, people choosing others when you were more qualified, more prepared, more deserving. Yet listen carefully. Nothing that belongs to you can be permanently owned by someone else. The authority that allowed the delay is the same authority that now commands reversal. Quietly, cleanly, completely. Right now, a shift is occurring that you may first feel internally: clarity, confidence, a strange calm. That is the signal. That is the confirmation that something long overdue is unlocking. Your future is not being rebuilt from scratch. It is being returned to its rightful alignment. Stay present. What comes next is not just information. It is activation. And the ones who remain here, listening fully, are the ones who experience the change first. Do not move. The restoration is already in motion. Stay with me. Do not move. Do not rush past this moment, because what is unfolding now is the turning point most people never witness. There is a reason your life did not collapse when the shift happened. There is a reason you were protected from knowing everything too early. If you had seen the full picture back then, the weight would have been too heavy. So the truth was layered, timed, and guarded until your strength matched your destiny. Here is the revelation that changes everything. What was taken from you could never be fully used by anyone else. The codes were touched, the channels were adjusted, the access was redirected, but the core authority remained sealed to your name. That is why things around them never stabilized. That is why nothing they tried to build ever felt complete. They were holding the map, but not the key. This is not about revenge. This is about order being restored. The power connected to your destiny responds only to alignment. It listens to intention, integrity, and timing. And now, the timing has arrived. What was delayed has started to reverse quietly. Not with noise. Not with confrontation. With precision. You may have felt it already. A sudden calm. A strange confidence returning. Ideas resurfacing that once felt impossible. People thinking of you after long silence. Doors reopening without explanation. That is not coincidence. That is recalibration. Understand this clearly and let it settle deep within you. When destiny returns, it does not knock loudly. It flows naturally. It restores your position without forcing you to prove anything. Those who altered things behind your back are now facing confusion, not from punishment, but from misalignment. And here is the part most people miss. Your restoration is not coming in a way that looks dramatic to the outside world. It is coming in a way that feels undeniable to you. A knowing, a stability, a sense that you are finally standing where you were always meant to stand. This is why you must stay attentive now. Your words matter. Your focus matters. Your patience matters. Do not speak doubt into a moment that is correcting itself. Do not question your worth when it is being confirmed. Something has already shifted while you listened. And what is coming next connects directly to how you hold this awareness right now. Stay here. The return is not finished yet. Beloved, slow your breath right now, because what you are about to realize changes the way you see your entire past. The confusion was never weakness. The delays were never failure. They were signs that something enormous was being held back until the right moment, and that moment has arrived quietly, without noise, without permission from anyone who tried to stand in your way. There was a switch that should never have been touched. Not a small one. A decisive one. A silent redirection that altered outcomes while you were still choosing love, patience, and restraint. You felt it as sudden heaviness, unexplained exhaustion, a strange sense that you were working harder for results that once came easily. That feeling was not imagination. It was awareness waking up before truth arrived. Now listen carefully. What was moved is being moved back, but not in secret this time. The restoration is happening openly, cleanly, and with authority. What was rerouted without your consent is being traced, verified, and returned in a way that cannot be questioned again. The delay has reached its limit. This is why names have been crossing your mind unexpectedly. This is why memories keep resurfacing. This is why you feel an urge to pause, to rewatch, to stay instead of scrolling. Your destiny was never fragile. It was protected. It was paused so that when it returned, you would be ready to hold it without losing yourself. The version of you now is wiser, steadier, unbreakable in a way the past version could not yet be. Something important is aligning behind the scenes. Documents, decisions, conversations, approvals, everything that once worked against you is being neutralized. Not loudly, precisely, permanently. What was done quietly is being undone even more quietly. Stay present. The final confirmation is closer than you think, and the next part reveals exactly how the return begins and why no one can interfere this time. Do not leave. This moment was designed for you to hear. Remain still for this moment, because something subtle yet powerful is happening now. This is the part many people never reach, not because it is hidden, but because it requires presence. You stayed, and that alone confirms something important about you. What was taken was never ordinary. It was layered. It carried timing, favor, recognition, and access that could not be duplicated by effort alone. That is why the interference had to be quiet. Loud actions leave traces. Silent changes delay destiny. The delay refined you. The silence strengthened you. The misunderstanding protected you. Understand this clearly. Nothing is being taken from anyone else to bless you. What is returning was always marked with your identity. It responds only to you. That is why no one else could fully use it, no matter how hard they tried. Right now, unseen confirmations are unfolding. Documents, decisions, conversations, and shifts that favor you are aligning behind the scenes. You do not need to chase them. Movement is already happening toward you. Stay with this message. Not because of urgency, but because recognition accelerates alignment. The more you receive calmly, the smoother the return becomes. This is not the end of the message. This is the moment where understanding turns into certainty. Stay with this moment. What you are feeling now is recognition, not surprise. Your soul already knew something was unfinished, something unresolved, something powerful waiting behind a locked door. This is the part where the door does not just open, it remembers your name. There was a time when you blamed yourself. You wondered why progress slowed, why momentum slipped away right before breakthroughs, why abundance felt close but never complete. That confusion was not weakness. It was evidence that something external interfered with what was internally destined. What was touched was not your effort. It was access. Certain paths require codes, silent permissions that decide who advances and who waits. These are not numbers written on paper. They are alignments, approvals, timings that move behind the scenes. When those codes shift, life feels delayed without explanation. But listen carefully now. The interference has an expiration. Nothing hidden remains hidden forever. Every silent adjustment leaves a trace. Every unseen move creates imbalance. And imbalance always calls for correction. What you could not see before has now been placed under full light. This is the moment where authority speaks for you. Not loudly, not emotionally, but decisively. The destiny connected to you was never fragile. It was guarded. It was paused so it could return stronger, cleaner, and unmistakably yours. That is why the restoration does not arrive quietly. It announces itself through clarity, through certainty, through a calm confidence that replaces doubt. Notice how your breathing changes right now. That is alignment returning. What was meant to empower you is reconnecting. The flow that once felt blocked is reorganizing. The future that seemed postponed is entering your timeline with accuracy. You are not reclaiming something small. You are stepping back into authority that was always assigned to you. This is not about conflict. This is about correction. Those who altered what was not theirs could not hold it. What is not aligned eventually releases itself. What is not authorized cannot remain stable. And what belongs to you recognizes you instantly when you stand ready. So remain present. Do not rush ahead mentally. Do not drift backward emotionally. Stay here, because this awareness is part of the transfer. Recognition is the key. Calm is the signal. Trust is the confirmation. What returns to you does not come damaged. It comes refined. This is why this moment will stay with you long after the video ends. Because something inside you has already shifted. And once it shifts, nothing can reverse it. Remain steady. The restoration continues. Stay with me right now, because what is unfolding cannot be paused, repeated, or postponed. This is the moment where confusion dissolves and certainty takes its place. You did not imagine the shift. You did not misunderstand the signs. What you sensed quietly has now reached its final confirmation. There was a time when your path felt slowed for no visible reason. You stayed patient. You stayed respectful. You stayed silent. And while you were doing that, something important was being handled without your awareness. Not destroyed. Not erased. Redirected. Adjusted behind closed doors. But here is the truth that changes everything. No hidden change can survive exposure. What was touched without permission has now been identified with precision. Not emotionally, legally, spiritually, structurally. Every code that was altered has a record. Every advantage that was quietly shifted has a trail. And the most powerful part is this: you were protected even while you were unaware. This is why you are still standing. This is why your spirit never broke. This is why the return does not arrive empty-handed. What comes back to you carries authority with it. The kind that cannot be taken again. The kind that locks in place. The kind that restores not only what was delayed, but the confidence to move without fear of interference. The delay created discernment. The silence built strength. Listen carefully now. You are not being given something new. You are being reconnected to what already had your name on it. And when that connection completes, it does not announce itself loudly. It shows up as alignment, as sudden clarity, as doors opening without resistance, as people responding differently to you, as momentum that no longer stalls. This is not coincidence. This is correction. You may notice changes in conversations, in timing, in how quickly things respond to your intention. That is not luck. That is alignment restoring itself to its rightful owner. What was once slowed now moves with accuracy. What was once blocked now recognizes you immediately. Do not rush the process. Do not doubt the outcome. You are standing at the closing chapter of a long misunderstanding, and the opening chapter of a life that finally reflects your true position. Nothing needs to be forced. Nothing needs to be proven. The shift is already active. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay open. Because what was meant for you does not return quietly. It returns permanently. Now listen carefully, because this moment is quieter than thunder and stronger than noise. What is happening right now is not dramatic on the surface, yet it is absolute beneath it. The system that once worked against you has stopped responding to interference. Something invisible has been locked, and the lock did not come from human hands. You may feel it as a strange calm, a pause in chaos, a silence that feels intentional. That is not emptiness. That is authority returning to its rightful place. What was once rerouted has reached a checkpoint it cannot cross anymore. The flow has stopped, reversed, and recalibrated. This is not a promise. This is a shift already in motion. There was a time you wondered why effort did not equal outcome, why sincerity did not produce reward, why your heart stayed pure while results stayed delayed. The answer was never about your worth. It was about access. And access has now been reclaimed. This is the part people remember later and say, that was the moment everything quietly changed. Not because something exploded, but because something aligned. Doors you were never meant to force are now opening without effort. Names you never spoke are being spoken in rooms you never entered. The future you sensed but could not reach is now responding to you. Stay still inside. Do not rush your thoughts. Do not jump ahead. There is power in receiving without resistance. What was taken without your consent cannot remain in the wrong hands. The record has been corrected. The authority has been restored. And the version of you that walks forward from here is not asking, not chasing, not explaining. You are arriving. Hold this moment. Let it settle. Because what comes next will move faster than what came before, and you will need this calm to recognize it. Stay with me. This story is not finished yet. Stay with this moment. What you are sensing right now is not imagination. It is alignment. The kind that happens only when something long delayed finally locks back into place. You are not late. You were never behind. You were held still while a larger correction was being prepared around you. There is a truth that was kept from you, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly enough that you blamed yourself. You questioned your timing. You questioned your worth. You wondered why your effort always felt heavier than it should. The answer was never your lack. It was interference. Behind closed systems, unseen decisions were made that touched pathways meant to open for you. Not just financial pathways, but authority pathways, influence pathways, the kind that change entire bloodlines. What was altered did not destroy your destiny. It paused it, and pauses can be reversed. This is where everything shifts. A higher order has now stepped in, not to expose you publicly, but to reposition you privately. The restoration happening now is strategic. It is silent. It is precise. That is why you are being asked to remain calm, remain present, remain steady. Power returns best to those who can hold it. Notice how your breathing changes when you hear this. Notice how something inside you straightens. You were never meant to fight for this destiny. It was designed to recognize you, to respond to your presence, to move when you move. And now, what was redirected is being called back, not through conflict, but through command. The coming changes will not announce themselves loudly. They will show up as sudden approvals, unexpected access, people reconsidering you, doors reopening without explanation. You will not need to explain yourself. The correction will speak for you. Do not dismiss the small signals. They are confirmations. What was taken in secrecy is being restored in clarity. What was shifted behind your back is being returned before your eyes. And this time, it comes with protection, with awareness, with permanence. Hold your focus right here. The final phase completes only for those who stay present and do not turn away at the edge. You are closer than you think.